It's gonna be this way. Swim so free.
A Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
All right, what's up, everybody? It's Tune In Next Week, episode 6. I can't believe this. We're like trucking along here.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, hey, this is John.
This is Brian.
As you couldn't have guessed.
I guess they probably couldn't have guessed if this is their first episode.
True. But then again, if they listened to episode 0 or any of the previous episodes, they'd see that it was still just us.
They can go back and catch up.
That's true. Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Had a pretty good day today. Feeling good, feeling great. Ready to do this.
Awesome. So yeah, that definitely makes two of us, man. We're going to be talking about Seinfeld, probably one of my favorite shows from that time period. And I say that now. I didn't necessarily watch it a ton when I was growing up.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same. I've seen a smattering of episodes here or there. I really started getting into it after it's a couple years after its run. Yeah,
and I actually I got really into Seinfeld after I watched a lot of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was kind of a show that Larry David did, and Larry David was one of the main writers of Seinfeld, and that's just an absolutely hilarious show. I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast series just on Curb Your Enthusiasm, but what I find really funny about Seinfeld is just the fact that even though the humor is from the mid 80s and early 90s, it's still completely 100% relevant today.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it that still holds up. The jokes are still funny.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you can feel the effects in the culture.
Yeah, and it's fantastic, and I really think that is truly the mark of good writing and the mark of just brilliant TV. I kind of find the same thing to be with Frasier too. You know, like all the humor in Frasier, it's still just completely relevant. It could take place now, or it could take place, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever it is, and it still is going to have that same appeal. The episode that we're going to be talking about today is called The Fusili Jerry, and this was from season 6, episode 20, original air date of April 27th, 1995, directed by Andy Ackerman, written by Jerry Seinfeld and 5 others.
Including Larry David.
He's on so many of those episodes.
Yeah, Larry David and Jerry both have writing credits, I believe, on every single episode. And the other writers, they were tasked with come up with everyday experience. If it's funny to you, write it down, bring it to us, and we'll work together to work it into a script. So a lot of these things, the plots of these episodes are based off of, I want to say that, stress that, they're based off of real experiences.
Yeah, and I honestly think that's the mark of good humor anyway. Like observational humor, things that actually happened that people can relate to.
Jerry's forte.
Yeah, exactly.
And Larry.
Yeah, and so much of that is covered in this episode. I mean, we were both saying that as we were watching this, because kind of our process when we watch this is we watch it, we make notes, and then we kind of talk about it when we come to record this. And we were having to pause it quite a bit because the show was just going so fast. And it's only a 22-minute show? Yeah,
22 and some change. But the jokes fly. They really truck along with the plot. Things happen one after another. There's really no downtime in the episode. They don't waste a scene.
Yeah, and that's great. And speaking of the show here, you can interestingly enough, you can only stream this on Hulu.
As far as we know,
as far as we could tell, we did research this. It is not on Netflix. It is not even available for purchase on iTunes.
You can buy the DVDs though. DVDs for sale.
Yep, DVDs on Amazon or Hulu. Right. It's not even available on Amazon Prime at this point. So, and again, we're recording this.
We'll call it 2015.
We'll be beginning of December 2015. So, as of right now, it's only on Hulu. But when you're listening to this, obviously, your experience may be different. But I've got a little plot synopsis here that I can give you.
Lay it on me.
So Kramer gets the wrong license plates when he goes to the DMV, but he's going to use them anyway because he gets some notoriety, we'll just say. And then on sort of another side plot, one of Jerry's signature, we'll just call it moves, which we'll talk about in a minute, is being kind of used by someone else, and not obviously not giving Jerry credit for this move. And then Kramer is making statues of people out of pasta.
Is this in the plot synopsis that we got from Hulu or IMDb?
I pulled this off of IMDb and just kind of
fleshed it out a bit.
Yeah, and just kind of made it really, really quick because, interestingly enough, there's really not much of a storyline to this. The only thing that really happens in this episode is a bunch of little vignettes or a bunch of little things. Mm-hmm. One thing being Kramer gets these license plates from the DMV. And I find that with a lot of Seinfeld episodes, it's basically just little snippets of their lives. And there's not a ton of continuity that goes between each episode, which is cool because I think in a way you can watch this show out of order. You can watch it whenever you want, and it doesn't really matter. You're not missing anything. Whereas, like, if you're watching, Walking Dead or Lost or something like that, where, if you miss a couple of episodes, you miss a major hole in the plot.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Hulu plot synopsis right now, and compared to the IMDb plot synopsis, it leaves out so much.
Right.
Hulu is Elaine's new boyfriend. One of Jerry's uses one of Jerry's intimate secrets. George's mom gets an eye job, but there's, like you said, there's a ton of other things happening simultaneously, very quickly and in a short amount of time. So
I think we should just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's dig in.
Did we miss anything as far as our major stuff? We covered the when it aired, all that crap.
Nah, we got it all. Yeah.
Available to watch on Hulu, DVDs on Amazon, plot synopsis. Okay, so let's just jump right into it.
Cool. So, starting off, this is just a conversation. Jerry's stand-up bit. So each episode opens up with Jerry on stage doing a bit from his stand-up act.
Which I have to say, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's such a clever way to open a show. Especially it's his show. His name is the name of the show. What better way to just get the crowd up and running by just going out there and giving them a little taste of something funny. I think that's great, especially because the crowd is lively. It's a live studio audience. I think that's such a cool way to open the show. And
it's a little glimpse into what's going to happen in the episode also. The stand-up act.
Most of the time it is. Sometimes it's completely unrelated, I've noticed.
Okay.
But, I think more often than not, I think you're right.
In this particular episode, the stand-up act goes into car trouble. You got car trouble, pull over the side of the road, open up the hood. Do you expect to see an on-off switch in there? What's the deal here? And
I find myself during those times, I find myself going, you're absolutely right, because I don't know, I love to drive cars, but I don't know the first thing about fixing them. But I know that if I pull over to the side of the road and I open the hood, I'm going to look in there and think, okay, well, I don't know a thing about cars. I didn't know a thing about cars 5 minutes before I broke down. I'm not going to have learned everything in the last 5 minutes, so opening the hood is useless to me.
Exactly. I mean, I know to put coolant in my car if it starts to overheat.
Right. Or if some light comes on the dash saying, add this, I'll open the hood and do it.
I can read gauges and and pump gas, and I'm a decent driver. But yeah. My strengths lie elsewhere.
As do mine. So really funny bit by Jerry starting things out, and we start out with Jerry and Elaine are kind of walking down the street talking, and Elaine says, "Hey, I'm going out with this guy."
Putty. Everybody knows Putty.
Putty. Okay, I didn't know everybody knows Putty.
Well, he was a character introduced earlier in the show.
Okay, yeah, I must have missed that. But Elaine's going out with Putty, and we find out that Putty is using this move. Now we don't know what the move is, but we know that Elaine is telling Jerry about her romp in the hay with Putty, and that Putty used this move, and this seems to bother Jerry in some slight manner because it's his signature move.
And he makes an analogy to stand-up comedy, which I loved. And this little aside is a thread that weaves itself throughout the entire episode.
Right.
So he makes this analogy, and it is in essence like stealing somebody's joke.
Right.
Like so you don't come up with your own material. So as the show goes on, people are stealing each other's moves, and you can see parallels in with stand-up comedy as well.
Right, and then you can also see where stealing people's moves works for you and works against you. Mm-hmm. And you see that a little bit later when George gets involved, but we'll talk about him in a little bit. Okay, so they're walking down the street and doing their thing. Then we go over to their corner restaurant. Now, what is the name of that restaurant?
Just says the restaurant.
Right, but I know that's like been a trivia question. Like, what's the name of that New York restaurant? Which, interestingly enough, doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist?
It doesn't exist. Yeah, so there's some little Seinfeld trivia, just not to get too far off topic, but the restaurant, the corner restaurant that they eat at, does not exist.
Word.
And the opening music is specifically when they were kind of putting the show together and putting all the stuff together. They wanted the music to be different. They didn't want it to be like everything else that was out there. They wanted it to be completely different. So the guy who composed it, I forget his name, but the guy who composed it used a fake electric bass. It's not a real bass player.
I think I heard this.
It's a keyboard bass, and he sampled himself doing like the little, or the little noises, and put them on a keyboard and played them on a keyboard. Every episode has different music.
Every episode?
Every single episode. So what this guy did was he basically would play little bass riffs, and then he would put his he would put his own little mouth noises as percussion.
I'll get out
on the reel, and that was the scoring for the show. So this guy was churning out unique music for every single episode.
Every episode?
Yep, using the same techniques, using the sampled electric bass, the sampled mouth noises. I saw a documentary on it. It was pretty fascinating.
And now the show's in syndication. That royalty check, I imagine, is pretty nice.
Oh, that's probably all he does. He probably works at Applebee's or something, but he probably earns his primary living from his Seinfeld royalties. Nice living there. Okay, so now we're over at the restaurant, and George and his mom are sitting there having a little chat, and then we find out George's mom wants to get an eye job.
Yeah, she says eye job, and my first thought is, are you getting like your bags under your eyes lifted? What does this eye job entail? So I was kind of confused because she doesn't wear glasses, at least not in any episode that I've seen her in.
No, you're right.
But she doesn't wear glasses, so she says, I'm going to get this eye job, and George is like, what are you doing this eye job thing for? Well, because I'm a divorcee. I'm separated now, so I'm putting myself out there. And George freaks out. No, I'm out there. I don't want to see you out there. If I see you out there, I need to get electroshock therapy to jolt me back to reality. Stay off the market.
Right. And she's not even a divorcee because they're not, her and Jerry Stiller, his father, are not separated yet.
Yeah.
So she's going way out of proportion with this here. And she says, well, I need you to pick me up from the hospital on Tuesday.
I take issue with this.
Tell me.
Greatly. So she says, I've got this eye job. The appointment's on Tuesday. You're going to take me home. You're going to come pick me up and take me home after the appointment's done.
How is she getting there?
I don't know. Maybe a taxi. I don't know how she's getting there.
Right.
Maybe Frank's taking her.
But then why wouldn't Frank pick her up?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's got something to do. But here's my thing.
Yeah.
George says, oh, but I've got this thing. Steinbrenner needs me to do this thing. And she's like, oh, but it's the only time that the doctor had available. You're going to pick me up and take me back. How dare you? How dare you make that assumption that I'm putting myself in Costanza's shoes right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I love my mom. I'll do anything for my mom. but I have my own life. Do not presume that I can come and pick you up at the drop of the hat. I may have other obligations that may cost me my job or may affect my life in some way that I can't come get you. Let me be clear. I will do anything for my mom. Just don't presume that I'm at your beck and call at the drop of a hat.
I agree with you 100%. And I've had family members do this too. And, they say, well, you're going to pick me up at 5 or you're going to do this. When I was younger, I know exactly what you mean. We all have our own lives. I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I take real issue with that.
Because I could see it when your kids are kids, when like you're still living at home, you just gotten your driver's license, and now, all those years of your mom and dad driving you places, now it's payback time. It's like, okay, you need to go to the store and get us milk, or you need to go do this. I get that. But like George Costanza's in his mid-40s.
Yeah.
His mom is probably in her 70s. Easy. And she's still saying, you're going to come and do this on Tuesday. It's like, well, what about George's work schedule? What if he has something else going on? I mean, where is the respect for his private life?
What if he doesn't have a car or anything like that? The thing is that I will do favors as often as I can, 9 times out of 10, if I'm able to.
Right.
I would appreciate to be asked before you presume that I'm going to do this for you.
Right.
And she's the type of overbearing mother that I just want to wring out over a sink. Ugh. She needs okay.
That could be in the next week's episode.
Next week's episode.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
So tune in next week for that. Okay. So
Kramer walks by.
So Kramer walks by, and of course, we got to talk to Kramer. Whenever he's on camera, we got to talk to Kramer.
Well, George sees an opportunity.
Right.
George sees an opportunity, and he flags Kramer down, brings him over. I know you got to go somewhere. See, you're going to sit down. Because
again, regardless of what Kramer's doing, no, you're sitting down.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have to go do something. I don't care if you're off to the doctor to save your own life. You're going to sit down and talk to me and my mother for 5 minutes.
Sure.
And this is where we find out that he is going to pass off the task of bringing his mother home to Kramer. Now, I have a problem with this because as someone who, like you said, I love my mother. I would have done anything for her. But if she asked me to do something, I would make it happen and I would do it if possible. I don't think that I would pass this off in front of her.
I agree with you. The exception is that I don't know. I never knew your mother.
Yeah.
My mother also. I guess what I'm trying to say is that any normal person, if they asked me to do something for them, and then I say, oh, I can't do it, and then they say, no, you're going to do this, and then I foist it off to my buddy, they would say, well, what about you? Why are you having him do this for me? Why didn't you do this for me? Kramer's obviously being manipulated. George's mom doesn't see what's happening.
Right.
Granted, she's older and she really doesn't care too much, but
as long as she gets a ride home.
Yeah, but the way she put it down the first time to George, it was a demand. No, you're taking me. This is the only time the doctor could do it.
Right.
This is happening.
Right.
But
okay.
now all of a sudden she doesn't care.
Right, but then so we established the fact that George is passing off the, picking his mom up from the hospital.
Clearly manipulative.
Exactly. Passing it off to Kramer. Kramer's like, okay, but I can't do this until I take care of a problem with my license plates down at the DMV.
And George is all, well, giddy up, partner.
Yeah, because again, regardless of what you have to do today, you have to go down to the DMV so you can take care of my mother at the hospital.
Yeah, Kramer's cool with it, though.
Kramer's cool with anything.
Yeah.
Kramer's the man.
Everything's an adventure.
That's right. So next thing we know, there's Kramer down at the DMV.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably one of my favorite scenes.
This scene.
Yeah. Kramer's in line at the DMV to pick up his plates. Now, he goes to pick up his plates, and now, again, we're suspending the whole, if he could have done what I'm going to talk about, if he could have done this, there'd be no plot to the show. We're suspending that.
Sure.
Because the whole purpose of this podcast is just to rip things apart. So he goes to pick up these plates, and he mistakenly is given vanity plates that someone else had ordered, and the vanity plates say Ass Man.
Ass Man?
Ass Man. As in ASS space man.
Ass Man.
Ass Man. So they plates say Ass Man.
Okay. I'm sorry. So, yeah. The plates say Ass Man. We're going to need to clean this up.
Ass Man.
Ass Man?
Ass Man.
Ass Man.
Ass Man.
Ass Man. All right. All right.
So the plates say Ass Man.
Ass Man?
Yes. So the plates say that. He goes, I'm not the Ass Man. And then the rep from the DMV goes, according to the state of New York, you are.
You are the Ass Man.
So all he does, he's like, okay. He takes the plates, puts them on his car, and drives away.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Why would you not?
Because I'm not the Ass Man. I would, if that were me, I would have said, well, then give me generic plates. And I'll come back some other time if I need vanity plates or whatever it is. Because every time I've gone to a DMV, they have some sort of repository in the back of extra plates or plates that are available.
Sure.
And they simply just assign them to you and give them to you, and you walk out the door. So why would Kramer accept Ass Man plates?
Well, because Kramer's Kramer.
And there would be no plot to the show if he didn't.
And everything's an adventure to Kramer. However, in real life, me, Brian, I would... Ass Man?
Ass Man.
Ass Man. If I were given plates that said Ass Man, I would accept them and I would place them on my car, front and back.
Okay, so if you are leaving work and your manager is... like let's say your manager's walking past your car and wants to say hi to you, you would not be embarrassed being seen in a car with the plates that say Ass Man.
No, I would own it. I would own it, and I would deflect whatever humiliation or embarrassment there is. I would deflect it by acknowledging it and owning it. And hey, the DMV, according to DMV, I'm the Ass Man.
Ass Man.
I guess I'll get them changed if I get my car registered in another state or get new plates for whatever reason. But hey, it's funny. Is this not funny to you?
It's hilarious to me.
It's hilarious to me also, manager. So
Ass-man?
Tell me more. Ass Man?
Ass Man.
Ass Man.
Ass Man.
So yeah, I would accept them. I totally get why someone would not and would put up the fuss. I would be as Kramer in this situation, accept them and just ride off.
That's
into
cool.
The sunset.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the high road because I'm sure there's someone else. Maybe you are the actual Ass Man who is wanting his Ass Man plates. I would not want to deprive you of your Ass Man plates. If it were me, I would have refused the plates. But hey, I think it's still funny as hell. So Kramer, aka Ass Man, puts the plates on his car and drives away.
The next scene is David Putty and Elaine in bed.
Right.
Flush from lovemaking.
Yes.
With a weird quilted headboard.
Yes, and you also see that there's some sort of tension there because Putty is like, I just did the greatest thing ever, and Elaine is sitting there like, meh.
Is she meh?
She was. This was the first time you saw them in bed. The second time you saw them in bed was different. The first time you saw them there now, she's just kind of like, meh, and he was like, oh, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's okay. Like she wasn't impressed.
I got a different vibe from that. I feel like that may have been the first time Putty did the move, and she was taken aback. Oh, you did the move, so now I'm wondering, where did this move come from? I recognize this move.
That part happens later, the second time they romp.
The next scene, she addresses the move with Jerry, though.
But she talks about how he did something different at the end.
Right, which is why she gave him the quizzical look. He did the pinch at the end of this, and
instead of the swirl.
Hence the look. But she still enjoyed the move. She was just, why the pinch?
I think she preferred the swirl, which is Jerry's version, instead of the pinch. I believe she said she preferred the swirl.
You're right. She did prefer the swirl.
Right.
But nonetheless, he did the move with the
Right.
variation at the end.
Right. But I got, just from watching her, I got an expression of I didn't like that so much, or that wasn't as good. You know, maybe that bears rewatching the episode sometime.
Yeah.
You know,
I got a quizzical look out of that. Like, that's interesting kind of look from her. Whereas you got the unimpressed look.
yeah, I got like a meh look.
Huh, that's funny.
Yeah, but anyway, so we're back there at the restaurant, and this is where Jerry finds out his move is being used by other
People.
by other folks.
Other comedians are lifting his joke, using his material.
It's true. You find out when he's talking with Elaine about the fact that Putty knows his move and everything, and Elaine is like, well, how did he find out your move? And Jerry says, oh, well, I was hanging out in the garage with him, and and Jerry says garages are conducive to sex talk.
Yeah.
And then Elaine says, oh, because of all the pistons and lube jobs. It was a funny construction of words. Like,
That gets me hot.
I got to tell you, I mean, if I'm feeling like I need to be racy, I go down to my garage. That's it.
Yeah, just step into the garage, and
I just stand there in the garage, and it does it for me.
And yeah, this is the conversation where Jerry equates it to comedians stealing jokes.
Right.
The next scene is Jerry and George walking down the street. Jerry recounting the move theft to George, and George complaining that he doesn't know the move. Why'd you tell Putty? Why'd you tell Putty and not me? So then they go into the whole thing, and Jerry begins describing the move, and right as he begins the description, cut scene to them walking into the apartment.
Right. And I had a quick note here that the set for this was much better than Knight Rider's Chicago in the 80s set.
Oh, yeah.
This set was much better. It looked a lot more authentic. I don't think they shot on the actual streets of New York, but it looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, and this is where we actually get the title of the show, because we're over in Seinfeld's apartment, and they're talking about the move and finishing section of the move, and then Kramer just walks in and hands Jerry this stick figure made of dried fusilli pasta.
Is it pasta?
It's pasta.
It's pasta.
Because it's fusilli pasta. And he hands it to Jerry as if Jerry's supposed to know what to do with this or know what it is. And Kramer goes, it's fusilli Jerry. And I made it out of fusilli because you're silly. And then the look on Seinfeld's face is classic. Because he's just like, it's a combination of, what the hell is this? And what the hell do I do with this? And why the hell did you make this for me?
Look, Jerry, it's got a little microphone because you're a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I mean, what would you say if I handed you a stick figure made of pasta and I told you it was you?
I would graciously accept it. I would ask you why. If you gave me the same response, I would compliment you on the pun, and then I would quietly put it away, never to look at it again.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's what Jerry did.
Well, we'll find out later. He put it on the... Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. Now, I do have a question, though. Do you ever notice this throughout all these episodes that Jerry, whenever he's home, his door's always unlocked?
Yeah, it's...
So so Kramer can just slide in whenever he wants.
It's funny, though, when somebody buzzes up, he opens the door, so it's a little ajar, so the person that comes up opens the door and comes in. But the door is, unless he's coming in...
Right.
Unless he's the first one in, it's typically unlocked.
Yeah. You would never find that nowadays in New York.
No, especially not in New York.
No, I find that kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, we're still back in the apartment. They speculate about there's some really sharp jokes about who would have an ass man vanity plate.
Ass man?
Ass man. So they speculate who would have an ass man plate. They come out with a proctologist. Yeah, proctologists would probably have it. The next scene is Jerry walking down to the garage where he confronts Putty, a la Joe Rogan, Carlos Mencia again in the future. Seinfeld comes down, confronts Putty about using the move. They have a little back and forth. I like Putty's reaction to the end of this. Jerry says his piece, and Putty just looks at him and says, "Are you done here? Because I really got to get back to work." It's just abrupt to the point.
Well, right, but don't forget, he also, Jerry says, "Okay, if you want to do the move, do it when you're out of town."
Yeah.
and then Putty goes, "Well, then if you want to get your car fixed, you can go out of town."
Yeah, take your car out of town.
And the next scene, Jerry is driving home or driving somewhere, and you see him like run over like a dead body. You see his car just jolt up and down, and then you hear it like the engine die, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But I guess they wanted to make it obvious that the car broke down, or make it, like something happened and now the car needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
And
I was looking at the out the rear the back seat window.
Yeah.
I was looking back there to see what if I was looking for a pothole or anything,
Or
but
body.
yeah, it's stock or body. It is stock footage, and we're not going to see anything. But yeah, we're still looking out there.
Of course.
Just some wild, deep pothole that he just happened to drive over.
Yeah. Yeah, but so then his car's messed up after that, and he has to get an estimate, and we find out about that a little bit later on. But then we see Kramer over by his car. Oh, no, actually before that, we see kind of going back to this whole stealing material thing. George and his girl are playing around in bed. It doesn't look like it's going well at all.
No.
And this is where George is attempting to use Jerry's move on his girl. And she's like, "What are you doing?" It's, probably the worst thing you could hear from your partner in bed.
If I heard that would be a challenge.
Yeah. But either way, he's like, "Well, I'm trying a move." And, she's like, "Well, just don't even bother." So he goes back to what he normally used to do, which apparently was working for them. But, this is another little vignette about how stealing someone's material doesn't always work in your favor. So now we see Kramer over at his car, and there's a phone number written on a piece of paper on his windshield from presumably a woman, and it says, "I have what you're looking for."
Yeah, the note is hilarious. They include their measurements in there, and it's like 3645.
36 something 45. Like, it was clearly the last number, I believe, is waistline.
Waistline? What was the waistline? I feel like the waistline
40
was
something, like 48.
Oh man, big old waist.
Ass man.
Ass man. So Kramer picks up this note, gets in his car, drives off to pick up George's mom.
Right.
Picks her up from the surgery, and she's going on and on about how.
Well, wait, before he picks her up, don't forget.
Oh,
he
yes.
pulls into a doctor's only parking spot.
Yes.
And the security guard says, "Hey, can I help you?" And Kramer points to his license plate and he goes, "Dr. Cosmo Kramer, proctologist."
And the cop is like, "Oh yeah, it's
Ass
the
man.
ass man."
Such a good episode. Ass man.
Ass man.
Okay. So he goes and picks up George's mom, and of course she doesn't look any different, I don't think.
No, she looks the same. But we find out here that it's laser eye surgery.
Okay.
It's not eye lifts or anything like that.
Maybe it was
Botox.
LASIK or something.
She said they did it all with lasers.
Yeah, so maybe it was LASIK or something.
Yeah, and the doctor specifically said, "Don't cry or you'll ruin the procedure."
Yeah.
So it's some crude form of LASIK,
Right.
I guess. So she's making her eyesight better.
Right. While they are driving back, Kramer's got his window open and people are shouting to him, "Hey, ass man!
Ass man?
Ass man!" And he's
Ass man!
and he's getting like all kinds of attention.
Hey, it's the ass man!
"Hey, how are you?" Yeah. He's loving that. He's absolutely loving that. So, in that way, I can certainly understand not wanting to give that up. That little notoriety bit is pretty funny.
Yeah, but George's mom thinks that the cat calls are for her.
Right.
And that's confusing to me. Why does she presume to think that these cat calls...
Which are cat calls saying the word ass man.
Yeah.
Why is she taking credit for that? Or why is she taking that as a compliment?
I don't know.
I don't get that.
Maybe she misheard. She's mishearing all of these things.
They're not saying ass woman.
No. Or maybe she's presuming that they're saying, hey, nice ass, but she's in a car. You can only see her from the...
You can't see her ass, but like maybe are they assuming that he's got this woman in the car and he's picked her up because she's got a nice ass? So they're assuming his passenger has a nice ass?
I'll buy that. So that happens. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. So the next scene, Jerry and George talk about Jerry's car, and they go on about Jerry getting screwed because now Jerry's got to take his car, which has been broken down, to an out-of-town mechanic. He feels like he's getting screwed.
Because they want $2,800 for the damage.
Right. So Elaine comes in all hot and bothered because now Putty's not doing the move anymore.
Right.
So because Putty's not doing the move, Elaine's upset. So Jerry's all like, hey, listen, maybe I'll let him do the move for you, but you got to do me a solid and see what he'll do with these estimates, or see if these estimates are legit.
Which what the hell kind of a question is that? You know, go over to your boyfriend's house, ask him if he can do like I've already pissed off your boyfriend, but ask him if he can give me a quote on some car repairs, and then I'll let him do this sexual move for you. Like that's such a weird proposition. In
addition to that, she does it.
Yes.
She does it, and it's real awkward.
Yeah.
If anybody asked me about my work in the middle of that, that
wouldn't work for me.
That wouldn't work for me either. But the Putty's all right. He just goes for it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that I wouldn't keep on keeping on, but
so she gets the quote for this and everything is cool.
Oh, but you're forgetting something. After she leaves, after she agrees to get the quote, the requote for Jerry, who comes in but the ass man himself, Cosmo Kramer, with a big booty Judy in tow.
Yes, that's right. The ass man's got himself a big booty Judy.
So she comes in. Kramer says hi to everybody. Whoever she is, she says hi to everybody, and she makes a big show of slowly turning around and wiggling her waist as she walks out.
Right.
And that is a rotund ass.
Yes.
It's an ass befitting of the ass man.
So we're over at Frank's. We're over at Costanza's parents' house.
Yes, the Costanzas, Frank and Estelle, are now arguing about George's mom, Estelle's recent eye surgery. Frank's all, you don't even need this, and I'm all out of the market now. You ain't on the market. Yeah, well, Kramer's all into me now. What do you mean Kramer's all into me? Well, he did a short stop, and he felt me up in the car.
Which really was nothing more than just him being the driver, being courteous and, holding her back so her head didn't go through the windshield because he had to stop short.
Don't slam your head on the dashboard. I've got to do a sudden brake.
Right. But you later learn that was apparently one of Frank's moves.
That's Frank's move.
Yeah.
So Jerry's move is whatever it is in the swirl.
Yeah.
And Putty's move is the whatever it is in the pinch. Frank's move is the sudden stop and hold.
Right. And the chest grab.
Yeah, puts his arm out to keep the passenger from bouncing their head off the dash.
Right. Which is, it's a courtesy thing. It's hey, I don't want your head to go through the windshield kind of thing. I get that.
It's sexy, especially in the middle of traffic.
Oh yeah.
So hot.
Now, Frank is pissed as hell.
Frank is all angry.
So he goes over to Jerry's place in search of Kramer to try to find him to beat the crap out of him.
Sees Kramer's car out front and sees a large bra in the back seat. Now, they don't say what's going through Frank's head, and Frank doesn't really vocalize it either, but
it's pretty obvious.
One can assume that Frank sees that bra in the back seat, and an assumption can be made that it might be Estelle's. It might be George's mom's bra.
Right.
Frank takes issue with this.
Right.
Storms upstairs, looking for Kramer. Comes in yelling, where's Kramer? Kramer comes in, and then they start going at it. They have a back and forth. They bring up They bring up past sorrows. They get at each other's throat. They go back and forth, and they knock into the table, and what falls to the ground but the Fusili Jerry, and what falls right on top of it but Frank Costanza's butt.
Which means he needed to take a trip to the doctor.
The proctologist. Damn it! The ass man.
The doctor ass man.
The ass man.
And then this is the final scene of the episode where you actually find out that the proctologist is in fact the guy to whom the ass man plates belong.
Yeah, he's got a picture of his yacht or his boat, whatever it is, in the office, and Kramer goes up to it and sees it says ass man emblazoned across the back.
Right.
Kramer brings it up and tells everybody, hey, this guy's the ass man. Doctor comes out, shakes George's hand and says, your dad's going to be okay, and walks by Kramer, and then Kramer stops him and says, Doc, you're the ass man. And the doctor just winks at him. Roll credits.
Such a great episode, man.
It was
such a great episode.
Yeah, it was funny. I got to tell you, I hadn't seen this episode before.
Yeah, I think I saw it while I was binge watching it one day, and I just remembered it because of how ridiculous the whole ass man thing was. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that Seinfeld continues to be one of my favorite shows because of the fact that it's just so damn funny. And
yeah.
you can, it doesn't matter. It's a timeless series.
Yeah,
truly a timeless series.
It's still funny after all these years.
Yeah. Definitely want to hear from you guys. Tell us what you think about Seinfeld. Are you a Seinfeld fan? Reach out to us on our website, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter at tunein_nextweek. Now, before we wrap up the show, we want to actually do a little Where Are They Now? Another one of our little sort of ancillary bits that we're adding to each episode. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about earlier, Jerry Seinfeld is currently doing a show. Is it on Comedy Central or HBO? It's like comedians going to get coffee in cars, or comedians in cars with something like that. It has to do with comedians, coffee, and cars.
It's comedians in cars getting coffee.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't know what channel the show airs on.
Okay.
I feel like it might be the IFC channel.
It could be anything, honestly. I mean, my first thought was HBO, but I may be confusing that with Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was Larry David's show.
I've seen a few episodes on online myself. I saw the one with Bill Burr in it. They smoked cigars and went to they drove like classic cars around. Yeah. There was one with Chris Rock that I saw. There was another one with Louis C.K., which is really good. It's a terrific show.
Cool.
I just can't remember what channel it's on. I saw most of it online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Michael Richards up to?
That's a very good question. Michael Richards, mostly doing guest spots for the most part. He's been on Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was in a short called Walk the Light. He was on a series called Kirsty with Frank Baxter. He was also on a single episode with Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, but Michael Richards, for the most part, hasn't really been that active as an actor. Yeah. Especially since his ill-fated stand-up comedy stint. That
little outburst, yeah.
Outburst? Is that an outburst or?
I would think so. Yeah, I'm looking right now. It looks like I'm looking at what Jason Alexander's been up to. I'm just on IMDb right now. It looks like he's doing some voiceover work, and it looks like he did a couple of episodes of The Grinder TV show.
Oh, yeah, he's on Grinder is a new show that's just come out, and it's got Fred Savage in it. Fred Savage, Rob Lowe, Mary Elizabeth Ellis. I haven't seen any. I've seen a couple trailers. Yeah. I'm really excited for the show. I just
cool.
need to get the time to get into it. It's anything Fred Savage touches, I'm automatically a fan of. I love Fred Savage and everything he does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she's the Veep of Veep now, or what's going on with that?
So she's been very busy. She's in Veep. She's also has done a lot of guest spots. She's been on Arrested Development as a recurring character, a blind lawyer, if you will, but not really. She's also, she's a dirty liar in that show, and she's so funny. One of my favorite things that she's been in since Seinfeld is The New Adventures of Old Christine, where she is a divorced mom who's trying to keep up with the times. She's back in the dating game. Yep. She's trying to relate to her kids, her friends, the job, the whole thing. I really liked it. It only lasted for maybe 4 or 5 seasons, I think.
Okay.
3-4 seasons. It lasted quite a while, and I thought it was great. But her big thing that she's doing now is Veep, and not a show that I've gotten into, but I haven't heard a bad thing about it yet.
Cool. We're going to be adding little things to the end of the episode. So like last week when we did Airwolf, we talked about kind of like our high and low points of things. So, we'll kind of be spicing things up here as time progresses. I think that's just about going to do it for us here, right?
Yeah, we're done.
All right, excellent. Well, as always, hit us up on our website, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter at tunein_nextweek. So as the name of our show implies, definitely tune in next week. Have a good one, guys.
Later.
See ya.